Here's a small segment from the Pre-Patch podcast. Enjoy.
And
Right.
look, I'll be honest. This character's lacking in my. I like butts. This character's lacking for me. I'm kind of like, all right, well, this is cool. I don't know, whatever.
Oh,
So,
you need to that.
He needs to play near.
Yeah, two butts. Go for it.
Yep.
anyway, well, the other side of the Stellar Blade discussion that was going on was basically that the director vows to buck the industry advice for single player games, as what our industry needs is more than anything is variety. So what exactly is the director saying in this? Because that was a lot of
Who came at
fancy
him?
words.
He's basically going against like
industry standards and
the industry standards, games as a service,
yeah.
forcing multiplayer into stuff. He feels like the future of the industry, to prevent it from becoming stagnant, to prevent it from degrading to an irrecoverable point, is for more unique takes. And he feels like more unique takes can be seen more so in a single player environment than they can be in a live service or a multiplayer environment. He feels like those genres are so saturated, and people already, like, they're basically, the people that are making games in those genres are trying to just replicate instead of innovate. And he feels like innovation is going to come from the single player department more so than those spots.
Yeah, he
Okay. I
they've-
mean,
they've got like a Google Translate of what he said word for verbatim. He says, "I think that what our industry needs more than anything is diversity. Console titles, single player games with endings are very important in their own right. It's healthier for the market to continue to make these games and for them to coexist with other genres and platforms, which is why Shift Up will continue to take on console challenges," is what he stated.
I mean, I understand. Sorry, go ahead.
He also states that there's a strong desire for audiences to play a game that has a definitive ending, a game that isn't the live service title and isn't supported with endless updates after launch. Kim hasn't entirely shot down the possibility of DLCs for Stellar Blade however, he has said that Shift Up won't charge for Stellar Blade editions like costumes and new game plus modes.
Well, that's good.
Which they did announce that they were going to be adding that as free DLC post launch.
Yeah. So
Okay, so good there. But I have to somewhat disagree a little bit with saying that like innovation's only going to be coming from, or is mainly going to be coming from, the single player kind of element, because I think that, you look at games like Helldivers 2 is not doing anything necessarily crazy, but it is changing the way that people look, I think, at live service games. It's moving the live service genre forward with this kind of ever going ongoing arching storyline with
evolving
the bots and the war and all that kind of stuff. I mean, we just heard like Enigma is just like fully into Helldivers.
It's legitimately been one of the only games recently in like recent memory within the last like year or two that I've been able to like play consistently for longer than a month.
And what's crazy about something like that is that is something that you can jump into. Like, I feel like I could jump right back into Helldivers.
Yeah.
Even though I've not played it in weeks, right?
Without playing for weeks,
and still feel completely okay.
Exactly where you were, yeah.
Right.
Not have any issues. Yeah.
So, but I also do agree where I'm saying, like, I think that you don't have to take these games and continuously just keep pumping out necessary content after content after content.
Well, I also think that
feed.
I also think that he's taking on the fact that like it feels like in a lot of like these live action, or not live action, these live service games, it feels like recently at least that a lot of the live service like mechanics have been shoehorned into games that don't necessarily need it or didn't necessarily.
Look at Suicide
Justice
Squad,
League.
right?
Yeah.
Kills Justice
Yeah.
League, and what I was about to say too is that a lot of that content, where I think maybe this is what he's saying, is like, hey, we're not going to have cutting room floor content that's just going to be, we're just going to charge for DLC
shoved in there.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, because you look at like Suicide Squad and you can definitely tell like, oh, like this was like the Joker should have been in here. It makes sense. Like, this was a storyline that was already fledged out. And you kind of,
it's been something that I've complained about for a long time, where it feels like a lot of these DLCs, quote unquote DLCs that are coming out these days is just content that was already in the game, but they were like, we can make a buck off that. Let's pull that out of the game and make that into DLCs or live action stuff.
Look
you know?
at
Avengers was
Modern
terrible.
Warfare 3.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That
Well,
game in
not even that.
entirety
Like,
it was supposed to be the same game.
yeah, and exactly what the director here is saying. Like, basically, you pulling that content and removing a player's ability to get the finale, the true ending of the
Mhm.
game experience without shelling out more money into it.
Yeah. So I do
I can agree
agree.
with
I
that.
do agree
Yeah,
that
I
like
can
that
agree with
yeah.
that 100%. Yeah.
that part of it I do agree. What I do wonder though, and just hear me out, right? Do you think, playing devil's advocate, that if this was not for Nikke, right? If they did not have, which is also it is a wildly successful game right now. Like Nikke is doing really well.
Nike?
Wait, what
it's called
is happening?
Nikke.
It's
Ooh.
called Nike.
I am
What is
almost
that game?
1,000% sure it's called Nikke.
Because it's based off
Nikkke.
the goddess Nike,
I-
who is the
I'm-
goddess of
I'm
victory.
well.
which
Then
is what
everybody in my
Nike's
job is
shoes are
selling it
named
wrong.
after.
Just so you know, but it's Nikke.
Is it this
I'm
Goddess
pretty
of
sure-
Victory game? Is that what you're talking about?
Nikke. It's a gotcha
Okay.
game. It's an Eastern
Okay.
gotcha game. Nike,
I could be
Nikke.
wrong. I've always
but
called it Nike.
I'm almost 100% sure it's Nikke. But in any way, shape, or form, that is a gotcha game that is wildly successful. Do you think if that did not exist and this was their sole game, their first one out the door gate, do you think that this director would still be holding true to that? Because on the flip side, because the other side of this coin is that he is the director or the studio is also making, a gotcha game, which is known for holding content behind paywalls, that I mean,
Well, that's
obviously,
what. Yeah, that's all of a gotcha game.
you know,
pretty
I
much.
think I think Sin is correct. It is Nikke.
oh, let's go.
So got it.
Every video that I
I
just
can
pulled up
admit
like
when
three
I'm
different videos.
So-
I just pulled up like 3 different videos, and everybody's calling it Nikke. So either Sin is right or everybody else is wrong.
No, I'm down to admit it.
So what are you saying? If they didn't have this game,
So if they didn't have,
Nikke.
if they
He's
didn't
saying
have
there's a little
Nikke,
bit of a hypocritical take on it because they
because they have a gotcha game under their
Yeah.
pretty much are they
Yeah.
the developer.
I can see where you're coming from with that.
like
Yeah,
it's
that's-
easy to say, oh yeah, we're not going to charge, which again I think is great. We're not charging for DLC, we're not charging for costumes.
Or is it him just separating
because
the
we're
fact
making
that
a
it's a
shit ton of
single-player
money.
game? Is it just him separating the fact that it's a single player game compared to like a gotcha MMO? I don't know if it's an MMO, but gotcha games are mostly multiplayer. but
So to counter the counter,
I don't know.
it is a free to play gotcha game that all the content can technically be accessed.
I mean,
Well,
yeah,
within
that's a
free
gotcha
to
game.
play
Yeah.
So that's how many hours you have on your
to
hand.
counter the argument that of Sin's argument. Goddess Nikke or Nike, whatever we want to call it, was originally developed and probably from the start developed as a gotcha game rather than a single player where they shoehorned in and stuff.
I'm
like
not
that. So-
saying I'm not saying that. I'm not
No,
I'm
I
not
know you're
faulting
not.
them
I'm
for
just
being
saying.
for having a gotcha game. Trust me, I fucking love gotcha games. Like
You got a
but
problem with gotcha games.
I will
Shocking.
say that the argument of being like, well, it's a free gotcha game. Well, most of them are free. And the ones that are not free actually get fucking land blasted because they're charging, and then on top of that are also having to get in. But like you have like AFK
Yeah.
Journey. That game is wildly successful right now. And it is a gotcha game and it is making a shit ton of money. I'm just saying that it just does raise a question in my mind, being like, hey man, like, are you able to separate the two? Or are you just being like, yo, I'm making the bag over here,
got you.
so
I
I'm
don't
just
know.
gonna be okay
I
with
want like the good in me wants to say that he can, he's separating the two, being like, this is a single player game. This is what single player games should be compared to, like these multiplayer and live service and gotcha games. But he also could just be saying this to, stir up
yeah, I
some
mean,
controversy
again,
and get some eyes
Yeah.
on his, who knows really.
I
don't
see
think
it
so.
as I think he's genuine. I think he's
I
being
think
so.
clear to
I
his
could
word.
Because what he brings up is very valid. I mean,
Because
yeah,
again, his argument isn't like we can't have live service games. His argument is that he doesn't want these single player, stories to have live service.
which is what we
Situation.
have
Which
been
is true.
seeing
Again,
forever.
I'm-
and that's
yeah.
what we just mentioned with the Justice League game.
Yeah.
Like all these live service games, single player that don't need live service. And
I'm
it's
not
ridiculous.
I'm not downplaying his altruistic nature of his comments.
It's really whatever you want to choose to believe. But
I'm just it is one of those things where I'm kind of like, all right, man. Well, you at least he didn't come out there and was like, live service games are garbage, because it's like, but you have a live service fucking game. Like,
Yeah.
you are running a live service game.
At the
Gotcha
end of
games
the
are the
day-
devil.
At the end of the day, I'm just happy to see that gotcha money being funneled into something
Yeah.
as promising as what we're seeing with
Yeah.
Stellar Blade, because I genuinely think this is going to be a very impressive, and probably going to, since Sony's not putting out any first party games themselves, this might be one of their biggest launches. Sony's not putting out any first party games themselves. This might be their biggest third party launch this year.
And same,
Like for
I
exclusives
think,
and stuff.
honestly,
Didn't they just publish another? Well, they published
Helldivers. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think
True,
that this should
true.
be look, every developer go out there and make a successful fucking gotcha game, and then funnel the money in to be able to make your game that you really want to make, or whatever else. Like, don't do
We should make
Kickstarters, do
a
gotcha games.
game and funnel it all into the podcast, bro.
Yeah,
That's
you
what-
can get different
We
cuts.
should.
Nope. Not gonna finish
What?
that sentence.
What?
That was not gonna go where. That was not. It was gonna involve
Moving
PPs
on.
and all that. So
Hey, I hope you enjoyed the patch notes. And if you want to see more from the Pre-Patch Podcast, don't forget to check us out live every Thursday night at 10:30 p.m. Eastern, or at anchor.fm/Pre-Patch Podcast, or wherever podcasts are listened to. Hope to see you there. Much love.